letter about methane leakage. And then some geophysicists pointed out that the molecular weight of methane is so much lighter than carbon that they've really miscalculated. And the numbers that you give are in fact totally wrong. And methane is about 3 times more potent a greenhouse gas.
Not 105?
No, that's
Over a
not
20-year
counting the
period.
molecular weight, according to this physicist. So I think you should read it, Kevin, and look at it. I'll send it to you. I mean,
Why not everybody read it?
yeah, well, anybody that wants to read it, so it's out there. But
I think you're picking on me.
these kind of things are important to people that care about climate change,
Yeah.
because of the fact that there's a shorter horizon of methane in the atmosphere. You know, if you're really looking at climate, this is a complicated issue.
It is. It's very complicated. It's and you're right to be somewhat "quote unquote" frustrated, but it's absolutely the case that there is on this. There's in Graffio and Howarth have written one paper, and I can take you to them. There's 6 others that disagree.
Right.
That's just that part is true.
And it
Now,
goes on.
and on the issue of methane, look, I absolutely care about methane, and I want it reduced, regardless of what the leakage rates are. I want to get it lower and lower and lower. And I do think it's also important to point out that the persistence of methane is different from carbon dioxide. One of the things that scares me about climate is that the carbon that I'm going to put up driving back tonight is going to be there for more than 100 years. And
Why don't you stay overnight?
I'm still going to have to move. I'm going to Dimmock, all right? So, yeah, I've got some really. Yeah,
You're going
really.
to Dimmock.
Yeah, tomorrow. You might be surprised about how a number of people, anyway. I'll say respect each other, and I respect people in Dimmock, and I think a number of them respect me. In fact, I know. So yeah, one of the things that scares me about climate is by the time we wake up to the seriousness and take the action needed, we're locked in because of the 100 years worth of carbon. It's not like the world waking up to Nazi Germany and then 4 years later defeating them and getting rid of Hitler. That problem was horrendous, but it was solved more or less. And the British fought them for 6 years, and we fought them for 3.5 years, and we got rid of it.
But isn't that
I
the
have a
argument
question.
for a ban, given that the comparison?
Well, the problem is,
Germany
here's the
and
problem.
immense loss of
Here's the
life and
problem, and then we're
suffering.
coming to you, don't worry. Here's the problem. The world is burning more and more coal. We're up to 70%. Yes, the market share of coal is going up globally. It's going up, not down. We're burning more coal in 2012 than in the last 40 years as a percentage of the global marketplace, as a percentage, not just absolute numbers. It's displacing other fuels. 70% of the energy in China is burning coal. 70% of the total, including transportation, is coal. And I'm not here to praise any of the big four, but I can't look at you and say the Chinese would be doing worse for the world were they burning natural gas today as opposed to coal. I can't look at you and say that. I wish I could, because you'd all cheer me, but it would not be true. It would not be true, and I can't do it.
So, I'm very disappointed with you. I'm not allowed to comment on your Facebook.
Well, I'm very disappointed with your language on my Facebook page. I don't appreciate people telling me some of the things you told me. So I'll just tell you that directly.
So
maybe we can have a good interaction now.
I can't express how everyone else is feeling in the room.
Yeah.
But for those who aren't disappointed in you, I'd like you to relate to me what you told me outside of Mount Haven when you came to campaign on my road in Pike County. 3 things. One, it was in the room. You discussed your train of thought and your reaction to the Dimmock situation, and you claimed, and I'm sure I can't speak for Victoria, but I did deliver water to Victoria too, so you're not the only person.
She's a donor to my campaign,
Okay, I understand.
and she's not going to be alone.
Okay, in Dimick, there was a proposal for a water line, and you championed that. And I was surprised, and I was proud to hear an official
Yeah.
in the state champion that
Yeah.
proposal. When you finished your term at the PADEP, you went to go work for the law firm Reed Smith, correct?
No,
No,
Eckert.
Eckert Siemens, the other one, who's a member of the Marcellus Shale Coalition. And I'd like you to say, one, why didn't you return to champion that cause as the environmental regulator who was in charge and chief at the time when the Corbett administration was making that decision on the Penvest expenditure, and use you're campaigning now, but you could have really made a difference in those people's lives. And the EPA was in there, you were silent, you were working for a law firm that is a member of the Marcellus Shale, and I'd like you to answer the question I asked you in front of these group folks. Have you ever represented a company or an industry association? And Pennsylvania Independent Oil and Gas Association was a client of yours, correct?
No.
You were a lawyer in that case, and please explain.
No. So, all right. So let's start with the Dimick borderline, because I think that's a really important thing. When the pollution was caused by Cabot, starting in 2009, and there were 2 consent order agreements. Well, actually, one in November of 2009 entered into, and Cabot broke it. This was an agreement to actually fix the problems, and they broke it. In the spring of 2010, I basically said enough, and I had Cabot's CEO in and read him the Riot Act, and I said, here's the consent order agreement, the second one, you sign it or we go to court. And he signed it. It included a suspension of drilling anywhere and everywhere in Pennsylvania for a period of time. It included a suspension of drilling within the Dimick zone and the hydrofracking zone in that area. Which at least I think the hydrofracking, or is it the drilling, one of the two has, I think, actually continued to this day. One of them they allowed to start doing, I forget which.
Right.
Okay. And included an order to plug 3 gas wells, which, by the way, took money away not just from Cabot, a lot of money from Cabot, because there was a lot of gas coming out of those gas wells, but also from a landowner that I didn't really like doing. I mean, I don't like hurting people, and that hurt a landowner. And also required them to repair other gas wells. We also fined them, and we got to start measuring the water and seeing what would happen when those measures were taken, the plugging of the gas wells, the repair of gas wells to the water. And there were some improvements, but not enough. So by the summer of 2010, what I did was say, this isn't moving fast enough. I want another solution. And I was aware that Pennsylvania, over the years, in some situations, had built water lines, public water lines, to families who had water pollution. It wasn't, frankly, from gas drilling. It was water pollution from industrial processes and other situations. And I said, that's what I want to try to do. And I said, I'm going to go to Cabot and say, I want you to pay for it and build it. Cabot basically told me, take a hike. So at that point, I went to Governor Rendell and I said, look, we're doing these things, there's some improvement, but it's not enough. I think we ought to try to build a water line. He said, okay, let's try to do it. And I said, look, Cabot won't pay for it. We're going to have to pay for it, and then sue them and see if we can get the money back. No guarantees that we would. Very frankly, that was moved forward, and then Susquehanna County erupted in opposition to the water line. I went up there numerous times On one occasion, I walked through 100 protesters, not against fracking, against me and the water line. I walked through them to go to visit Victoria's home and talk with people there who had their water contaminated. That night I drove back, and by the way, I gotta hit the road because bad things start happening.